everybody, welcome back to our channel. I'm Taylor.
I'm Blanca, and today is
Wicked Wine Wednesdays, where we talk about true crime and sample wines.
Today we'll be discussing the sad disappearance and murder of Gannon Stauch.
So if you like wine and true crime, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Before we dive in, I just want to remind you guys that we will be talking about the wines that we tried at the end of the video, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned until then. I also want to remind you guys that we will be posting a video every other Wednesday. So let's dive in. We have been wanting to touch on this case for a while, but it is very sad and disappointing, to say the least. So we've strayed away from it. But there's a lot of new things that are coming out since April, which is this month. And a lot of things are unfolding with the whole case and trial, and we thought we should talk about it now. This is about Gannon Stauch, who was an 11-year-old boy, born 9/29/2008. He lived with his father, Al Stauch, and his stepmother, Letecia Stauch, who likes to go by T. Gannon was a great kid, and everybody said that he was just so kind and so loving. And a fun fact about him is that he was born severely underweight. He was under 2 pounds, and the doctors didn't think that he would survive, and he did. So he's been a fighter from birth. And he loved playing video games, and one of his favorites was playing his Nintendo Switch, which will come into play later. But unfortunately, Gannon Stauch went missing January 27th, who his stepmother says could have been a runaway kid, but she said that he left the house around 3:15 to hang out with some friends that she didn't know. She didn't know their names or anything. He was just going to hang out with friends. But he was homesick that day. So if he was not going to school that day because he was sick, why are you letting him go play with friends? I don't know. Maybe.
And why would you let him go somewhere that you didn't know?
Yeah, you should know who your kids are hanging out with.
Like your kids' friends, at least like the names, their parents' names, like a general idea of your kids' friends and where they're going to be.
Yeah, which makes sense. She says that that was the last time she saw him, between 3:15 and 4 p.m. She says he was supposed to come home around 5:30, and around 8 o'clock he wasn't home. So she contacted the El Paso County Sheriff's Department and let them know that he was missing. And she said that he could have been a runaway because, you know, kids that are 11 just decide to run away from their homes all the time. Following that, on January 30th, they classified Gannon's disappearance as a missing/endangered person. And the reason for this was Colorado weather wasn't the best. And on top of that, they said that he had some medical issues that he needed medication for. So they considered him to be in danger. So the police ended up reaching out to the public and asking for people to bring any information that they have about seeing Gannon or knowing anything about him disappearing, to come forward with the information to get him home.
On February 3rd, Letecia does an interview with the local CBS. Now, this interview in itself is just ridiculous. And because of this interview, I feel too, a lot of people are kind of comparing this case to the Chris Watts case. Like, it's been kind of like coinciding almost, people feel. Now, you can watch this interview for yourself. It's pretty much everywhere at this point. But Letecia doesn't want to show her face. like at least with Chris Watts, like the interview was, you know, they were interviewing him. You didn't see the interviewer. It was like somebody off to the camera and he's answering the questions, but was showing no emotion that whole time. Now with Letecia, homegirls just got her back to the camera the whole time.
I'm starting to wonder if it was because she didn't want people to like analyze her.
Oh yeah, of course.
Face, you know, and body language.
Of course, because that she probably figured that that's what they were gonna do, and then the whole time in the interview, she's trying, exactly like how Chris was, trying to make sure that she wasn't slipping up or giving too much information without giving too much. And at this point, she's not even living in the home anymore. So at this point, Al has kicked her out because of the speculation that she may be involved. And at this point, he's just concerned for the safety of him and his other child. So of course, kicked her out. Now, Gannon's biological mother eventually actually comes back and moves into the house like shortly after Letecia gets kicked out and everything. Now, when that happened, Letecia decided to go on social media and post a bunch of pictures of her and Gannon about how she loves him so much, she would never hurt him, his biological mother doesn't even care about him, she's been stuck raising him, just little things like that. Now she gets on air and she kind of is like still trying to, is it berate? Is that the word I'm looking for? Like
belittle?
Okay, belittle somebody. And that's just what she was still trying to do to Landon in little ways. Like, I'm not living at home, but she's there. And it's just like...
She's like, I can't get my clothes. It's like, dude...
It's almost like, why is that an importance at the moment? Like, somebody's missing, possibly did, but you know, there's other things to worry about, like your clothes, apparently. I don't know. And it even gets to the point where, you know, they ask her, like, you know, do you have anything to say to Gannon, you know, in case Gannon is still alive? And, like, you know, do you want anything for him to hear? And basically all she really had to say was, like, I can't wait for him to come home so that he can clear everything up. And then everybody that's been, like, belittling me on the internet owes me a sincere apology. Like, hold up, wait, what? Like, wait, what? No, for real. And it's just, and then there was another part in the interview, before I forget, where there's a mention of a hike between the family.
Yeah, which happened on Saturday. He went missing on Monday.
And there was
happened on Saturday.
There was a hike on Saturday. Now, to kind of backtrack a few days before Gannon goes missing, Letecia, her daughter, and Gannon all go on this hike. Now, it's kind of brought up in the interview, but before the hike was brought up, what had initially happened is the interviewer asked Letecia about her daughter being at work and coming home and seeing Gannon, basically something along those lines. And Leticia's like, doesn't even give the guy a straight answer right away. She's like, can I just go get her? She'll verify that he saw her. And the whole time, Leticia's mic'd. The microphones from everything else can pretty much pick up anything around her that, like, she's saying. So I don't know why she's being so stupid and careless, but I mean, keep incriminating yourself, honey. You're doing great. She basically tells her daughter, like, can you just go over there? Can you just say that you saw Gannon? And the daughter's like, I just have to say, yes, I saw him. Like, you could almost tell, like, the daughter is just like, why am I doing this right now? Like, because she probably didn't. Because she didn't. I guarantee nobody saw him. Nobody. But
and then there started being rumors about her throwing Gannon off, like, at the hike or something. And she's like, I can't believe that. That's all ridiculous. And she starts complaining that her and her family have gotten death threats over this situation. And she makes this interview very much about her, not Gannon.
Again, something that Chris Watts does.
Mm-hmm.
And they also try to kind of get her to slip up when trying to talk about Gannon, because they're trying to see what context she'll talk about him. Is she gonna talk about him in the past? Is she gonna talk about him in the present? Is she gonna talk about him in the future? And for the most part, she does pretty well. kind of keeping it in the present.
It's like a roller coaster.
And then she starts to slip with the wases and this and that, kind of exactly how Chris did, catches herself and puts it back into present. Now, like I said, go watch this interview for yourself because it's just one of those you watch it and you're like, why? Like, why? It's just upsetting from beginning to end because at no point does she try to show any remorse in regards to what's
Except
happening.
for at the very end, of course, when she starts crying and begging for him to come home.
Okay, but was she actually crying? Because, I mean, how easy is it to fake sob? She has sunglasses on, so you really couldn't see if there were tears. And again, her back is turned to the camera. So all you hear is noise, and it's very easy to just kind of be like,
yeah.
Like,
it sounds almost more like she's trying to make it sound like she's crying, you know? Like more of the cry in the voice than anything.
Like when Chris wanted his voice to like crackle because he was upset. Like,
yeah, exactly. And it's crazy to think how much these Chris Watts and the disappearance of Gannon Stauch come together. Because it's like almost like their brains worked the same way. I don't know if she got tidbits from Chris Watts, but a lot of it is very similar to the Chris Watts case. So talking about the hike, the day before they went on the hike, apparently Gannon had cut his foot in the garage. That him and Letecia were playing around in the garage and he cut his foot on something and she had to bandage it up. And it seems like she's trying to set something up to me. Speculation. But it seems like she's trying to make it seem like if they do find blood or anything in the garage, then...
It was just because Gannon slashed it and I had to bandage it.
Yeah, and the thing that she puts on top of that as well is that she sat him on the back of her car to bandage him. So if they find blood on the car, she's got that covered.
She was bandaging him.
And it's crazy that she's planting all these little things to throw people off track. And it's disgusting. And
I mean, I feel like you're not even throwing them off track. You're basically just like, this is where you're going to find everything. Please search here. Yeah. Your little black light that's going to show all this blood, right there.
Yeah. And I don't understand where her mind was going. But you know what? I'm not in her shoes and I would never be in her shoes. And I'm glad I'm not.
So kind of like how she mentioned, Letecia did many, many things to set it all up. To throw the police off the trail, however you want to say it. Now, one of the things that had happened the night before Gannon goes missing was, it's not really confirmed how any of this had happened, but basically a candle fell in the home and it burned the carpet.
And it was Gannon's fault.
And it was Gannon's fault because children are sometimes clumsy and they do things. I mean, hello, I'm an adult, and let's just face it.
Yeah,
I'm still clumsy.
I could knock over a candle, too.
So, it was an accident, and again, we don't know the context of anything because we were not there. However, we do know that Letecia took an accidental video on her phone. Now, we're not going to be adding this because honestly... It's not that it's long, but it's just really like gut-wrenching to watch, and I don't feel like we need to add it, but if you guys want to look it up, you're more than welcome to. But in the video, it doesn't really show Gannon or anything really. It's just kind of like...
It's like in her pocket because it's accidental. You
know?
Like
your phone's just in your hand.
It's only
almost.
Audio.
And in it, it's really weird how she starts it because she's just like, okay, Gannon, like, I'm really sorry, like, I freaked out, but, like, just, you know, are you sure you didn't do this on purpose? And Gannon is, like, hysterically sobbing. And all I can really think of is, like, did you hit him? Like, did you do something to him? Because, like, this kid is sobbing, like, uncontrollably in the video, to the point where he's just like, yes, like, I pinky promise, because she was trying to ask him, like, does he pinky promise, like, that it was an accident?
I don't understand why she keeps saying, like, she keeps saying, please just tell me you didn't do it on purpose. Please just tell me you didn't do it on purpose. And it's like, and why would a kid do that on purpose anyway?
She tells him to, like, don't worry, we're going to take care of it. We're going to take care of it. And then she was saying how they had to sell things in their home in order for this to be taken care of, because their landlord lady was going to be upset over this carpet burning thing.
And she's saying that they have to, like, replace the whole carpet.
Yes.
And I've never knocked over a candle on the carpet, but I'm sure if I did, I'm sure it depends on what kind of candle, but I'm sure it was, like, a basic, like...
you know, just like, something like this.
Like, but I'm saying, like, a candle that's in a container. Like, I'm sure it was something like that. So if that was to, like, fall over, I'm sure the wax would, like, put out the flame. And, like, if it didn't, it would, like, singe the carpet. I don't think you're going to have to replace the entire carpet. And she's trying to convince this little boy that he's caused all this damage to the house and that they're going to get kicked out if they don't fix it. And they have to sell the couch. They have to figure out things to sell in their house, their belongings, in order for them to replace this carpet so they don't get kicked out of the home.
And that's just so much to put on a kid. Now, before the video ends, and I think this is another reason why it goes from, like, really gut-wrenching, creepy, you know something is definitely happening in the home. Right before this accidental video cuts out, because it's so convenient to cut out at this little specific line.
And this is speculation. We don't know for sure if this is what he says. It's just one of those things where you gotta listen very carefully.
A lot of people are assuming that at the end of the video, Gannon says, I am bleeding. And then the video just stops. Now, we did listen to it a few times, and I don't know if that's just because it's what we were told he was saying, but I mean, it does very much sound like a little boy crying, going, I'm bleeding. Mm-hmm. At that point, the whole video cuts out.
She keeps trying to cover her tracks. But February 4th, her neighbor has security footage. And the security footage shows Letecia getting into the truck, which isn't even her car. I don't know why she decided to use her husband's car, but she did, the truck. And she backs it into the driveway. And you can see her get into the car, and then Gannon's, like, slowly walking up to the car, almost looking like he's, like, injured or hurt, or scared to get in the car. And he drops something, and she goes and picks it up for him because maybe he can't bend down and pick it up. And it's eerie to see. So they get into the truck and they leave, and this is at 10:13 a.m. And they get back. She pulls in the truck the same way that they got out, and this is at 2:19. And on the footage, you can see Letecia get out of the car and walk to the house, and Gannon doesn't get out.
It was almost like she ran into the house. Like,
she didn't. It's like if you're waiting for your kid, like, she didn't wait for him to get out.
Wait.
Nothing. And she tries to say that it's because he got out on the other side of the truck, so you can't see him. But it's a lifted truck. You could see the bottom of the truck. So if somebody was walking, you would be able to see those shadows walking behind the truck.
And you don't see a damn shadow. She basically pulls in, opens the door, like, runs in almost. Like we said, she's just not waiting. Like, there's nobody else in that car, and she proves it, like, the minute she just kind of runs in. And I mean, you can watch that video over and over and over again. You will never ever see, like, little foots coming out on the other side, because how she said it is lifted. You can see straight through the bottom. So if anybody else's foot was getting out of that vehicle, you would have seen it, and you see nothing.
Nope.
Other than Letecia scurrying away in the home.
Which I think is funny is that she didn't mention to the cops that they had went somewhere in the morning. Nothing. Just that they were home, and actually when they were home and he asked to leave, she said that she was working out downstairs. So she wasn't really sure of the time that he left. I don't know. But so after that security footage came out, she tried to cover her tracks and say that he got out on the other side of the car. But it just doesn't seem like that's the case. And a lot of people think that Gannon had already died at this point and that she had already disposed of his body. And it's just so upsetting, man. Oh, to not see him get back out of the car. Like when you watch that footage, to know that he got into that truck and didn't get back out, you're wondering, what happened? Where did they go?
Letecia was trying to say that Gannon was up most of Sunday night because of a stomach ache, which kind of led into her whole calling off on Monday, calling him in sick on Monday.
Oh, but she called in her work on Monday saying that her father,
her
stepfather, had got hit by a car and died.
No, he didn't die. He was killed, which everybody thought was really weird wording, because why wouldn't you just say that somebody had passed away?
Yeah, but
why did you have to say that he was killed? So everybody's logic was that killing must have been on her brain because either she was going to do it or it had been done.
Yeah. But she says that this happened. And through research, it did happen. But years ago. So her calling out of work saying this is like she was lying, but not lying. It's so twisted and weird.
And why wouldn't you just use the excuse that your kid was sick? It's the morning of when Gannon goes missing. And I really just wish that Letecia would come out and say what happened to him, because there's just so much missing time that is unaccounted for, and it's almost to the point where you even want to know, like, what did you do, when did you do it, and why? Like, and it's just what we don't have answers for. Now, we know that Letecia and Gannon left their home a little after 10 a.m. Now, Letecia decided that she was going to leave her phone at home that day.
Accidentally.
In
our opinion, it was accidentally. I mean, not accidentally.
I don't think it was, but that's my opinion. Now, she accidentally leaves her phone at home, and Gannon is the only one with a cell phone. Kind of weird, but whatever. Now, she decides that they're going to go to Petco. And she's not going to one that is around by the house.
Or two.
I was going to say, or the second one that was just as close. She decides to go to this third one that is, I don't even know how far away.
It was like an hour away.
Oh, was it? Yeah. So, again, completely out of your way. And you already passed two other ones that are way closer to your house. And she goes into this Petco. And no part of the store security camera do they ever see Gannon. So it's believed that Gannon had stayed in the truck. Now,
because he wasn't feeling well.
Also, I think it was that they had a hard time trying to see, like, in security camera footage if he was even in the vehicle while she was shopping. Because we all know security footage isn't great. For some reason. It's not. You think it'd be better by now. It's 2021, people, but whatever. And so there's speculation that maybe he wasn't already in the vehicle, or maybe he was laying down, because that would coincide with the not feeling well story. Now, it said that her behavior in the PetSmart was almost like a little, not like erratic, but it was just kind of odd.
She kept like looking in the parking lot.
She didn't even buy normal things. She bought like 3 little puffy jackets for dogs. Like, just something so random. As if you just like went inside and you're like, and then just got in the checkout.
Like, this looks good.
And then she leaves. I want to say this was all roughly like around 11 a.m.-ish or so. And then there's about 2 hours that are unaccounted for. Now, what the hell happened in these 2 hours? We will never know unless Letecia decides by the freaking grace of God that she's just going to confess everything. But I doubt that's this point.
Mm-hmm.
So we just don't. Now, it said that she returned to this Petco after being missing for 2 hours, and again with the odd behavior. And now, this time, Al is texting Gannon. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. I did forget to mention that when Letecia had forgotten her phone,
Mm-hmm.
she either told Gannon, she took his phone. We have no clue. All we know is that there was a text message sent from Gannon to Leticia's oldest daughter, Harley, and it basically just said that Tisha forgot her phone. If you need her, just text me. And it was almost something like, she doesn't go by Tisha, she's like T, and it was just like a really odd message to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like whatever. And then Al had decided to text Gannon and was just kind of like, hey, buddy, checking in on him, you know, a dad that really cared and was checking in on his son to see how he was. At this point, it was said that these text messages were pretty much at the same time that Letecia was in the PetSmart store or Petco or whatever, and it was probably roughly around the same time that she was in line, because I believe like the text message came in at like 1:22,
Yeah.
and she was seen at the store at 1:21 p.m. Now, the only thing that the text message said was, can I play Zelda? And to which the dad responded, you know, like, no, because he technically was in trouble for the whole candle incident. Even though it wasn't his fault, but, you know, you're being a parent and you just kind of got to be like, you got to do a little bit better,
Yeah.
and, you know. So it was just kind of like taking his stuff away for the day is what it seemed. And then it seemed like Al had texted him again a little bit later in the day. But we find out at that point that Gannon's phone had to have been off when the text message came in, because the text message was not read until about 7 p.m. that day.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when we find out a lot later, you'll see will coincide with many things that will not make sense.
So while all of this was happening, Gannon's father was away doing military training because he was in the military. And when he flew home on the 28th, Letecia had to go pick him up from the airport. And weirdly enough, she decided to rent a car, which just happened to be the day after Gannon went missing. And she went to go pick him up in the rental car. And she said it was because, 1, she didn't want to put miles on her car. 2, she thought it would help to look for Gannon in a car that he didn't know, so he wouldn't run off in case he thought he was in trouble. Yeah. Letecia put a lot of miles on this rental car, not just going to pick him up. And a lot of people don't know where these miles came from, but there were miles on the car that were not just to the airport and back. So when she picks up her husband in this car, he asks her what's going on with the rental car, and she explains the whole situation to him. And I don't know if he thought it was kind of odd. I would, but he kind of was just like, okay. And after all this, the investigation starts to happen. And I also forgot to mention that when the cops first showed up to the house, Leticia's car that she owned, which was a black Volkswagen, I believe, was pulled in backwards in the garage. And a lot of police think that Gannon's body was already in the car. And they didn't search the car at that point. But she decided that she needed to get that car washed. We don't like to speculate on people that are guilty. We did a little bit with, what was her name? With the stepdad? Julia Nicewinder.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why we did with that is because a lot of the evidence pointed at him. And it's the same with this case, is we don't want to think that his stepmom killed him. But there's so much that doesn't add up.
Points straight to her.
Yeah, and she hasn't confessed yet. So I guess, you know, she's innocent until proven guilty. But a lot of things point to her. So as this investigation starts to happen, they start looking up the Google searches and everything like that. And they find a search on Gannon's phone. In the Google search, it said, "Can my parent find me if my phone is off?" And a lot of people don't think that he is the one that looked that up. And the reason why is because there's a period between if and phone. And there's a lot of
like
evidence.
Typos?
Yeah, but there's a lot of evidence that shows that Letecia would do Google searches and text with like periods accidentally. Like she would accidentally hit the period instead of the space. And
They're not
so
even near each other. That's why I'm like, what the heck? Like, what are you trying to do, girlfriend?
Unless that's just the way she types. I don't know.
I don't know.
But that was in the search. And in the search, the investigators did the search with the period like she did, and they found that like it depends on like certain situations. And it might explain why Gannon's phone was still at the house when he was missing, because maybe she couldn't find a correct way to dispose of the phone. And on top of that, they find a Google search in Leticia's phone that says, "Can a Nintendo Switch be tracked?" And it's very, very sad to say, but the police have not found that Switch. To this day, nobody has no idea where that Switch is. Oh, man. And that's why when I say he enjoyed playing a Switch, comes into play. And maybe that was part of her plan, to think that, like, of course he would take his Switch and, like, it wouldn't be found because he loves it.
But I mean,
he had to take it with him.
Any kid would have ran off with their phone and their Switch. Like,
well, I think that's why she did the Google search on the phone, so that Gannon would be like, oh, if they can find my phone, I'm just going to leave it here. But since my Switch can't be tracked, I'm going to take my Switch. And again, speculation. We don't know if that's what she looked up on his phone, and
nobody knows. There's a lot of theories that Gannon wasn't even in the vehicle anymore when she was inside of Petco, or that he was already, you know, gone, which is really sad to say because, like we said, there's so much time that is unaccounted for.
Mm-hmm.
And unless Letecia really starts talking, we are just never going to know.
Nope. So during the investigation, they also find that there was a lot of blood in Gannon's room, on his wall, on his mattress, and it soaked through his mattress, soaked through the carpet under his mattress, and stained the concrete under the carpet. I want to cry because, like, it's just... So something very, very graphic happened in his room to this 11-year-old boy who has never done anything wrong. But when they search the phones and everything like that, they think that he was still alive during the morning of January 27th. And it was because that she had photos of him that were date stamped, and she had to make sure that the police knew that. She said, there's photos in my phone that are date stamped, so you know that he was still alive. And the weirdest picture she had, like, in her phone, it's like a picture of Gannon laying on his bed, but the picture is taken from feet up. And so it kind of begs the question, is like, is he sleeping? Or is that just a way to show that he's
all
so
covered up too?
Yeah.
So then the other logic was, did you do what you did and then took the picture and kind of like almost as proof to like say he was alive even though he wasn't?
Yeah, and it's weird because his face isn't showing or anything like that.
It's like a side, like you see like the side of it, but you don't see his face. It's very like I said, he has his blanket on him. Like it does look like he's sleeping. And to me, I really do think it's weird she had to make sure the Nintendo Switch was in the photo.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is from this weird angled photo, you can see the Nintendo Switch next to him on the bed, and it's almost like she's trying to like make it look like he's always with his Nintendo Switch, so if he's missing and his Nintendo Switch is missing, she's innocent. And again, all speculation, I don't know if that's what she did, but it sure seems that way, because shortly after that picture was taken is when she did the "Can my Nintendo Switch be found?" And in that search, there's no tracking on a Nintendo Switch, which makes sense on why it's never been found. And I'm wondering why she felt the need to get rid of that, you know? Like, it could have stayed at the house. But a lot of people think that that's why she kept the phone at home and got rid of the Nintendo Switch. And it's like she felt more comfortable knowing that the Nintendo Switch didn't have tracking. But the thing is if the Nintendo Switch was never found, then why be so concerned about the tracking to begin with? Because it's obviously not with his body, because his body was found.
Letecia and Gannon, as far as we know, returned back to their home roughly around 2:19ish, I want to say it was around there, almost like 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is kind of when she starts to give statements saying that, 3:15, 4 o'clock is when Gannon basically left to go to his friend's house. Now, like we've said, she constantly makes up stories. Nothing matches. It's always something new with her. And this time, like many of our other, I don't even know what to call them, like many of the other murders we have talked about, she made up this elaborate story about somebody coming into the house. This time we got a name, though. His name was Eduardo. Okay. Now, her whole story is that she came into the home, disabled their security system, and that this is how Eduardo got in. Now, she likes to say that he held her at gunpoint, hit her in the head, sexually assaulted her. She even tried to say at one point that Gannon tried to attack him and that Eduardo just threw Gannon off of him and that he ended up abducting the boy. I really want to meet these imaginary people that are holding all you guys at gunpoint and not leaving any marks.
Yeah, because he hit her over the head, but she didn't have any damage to her head or anything. But,
nope.
But it knocked her out, so she couldn't stop him from abducting.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, all of this happened at like 3:30 in the afternoon to like 4:30 in the afternoon. Approximately the same time.
Like right after they got home.
That Gannon would have been at his friend's house.
Yeah.
So how was Gannon there when she was sexually assaulted? Now, again, speculation on what's happened. Now, that is Letecia's story. Nobody is buying it. Nobody believes it. I think she was even offered like a rape kit that showed nothing because, again, she was not raped. Now, like we've mentioned, there were other children in the home. Now, Gannon had a biological sister named Lena, who was a little bit younger than him. I believe she was 8. And then Letecia had her own daughter from a previous whatever, who was about 17. Now, the 17-year-old had her own car, was working, doing 17-year-old things. So the fun part is when Lena comes home from school, immediately Letecia comes running out, almost stopping her from coming inside the home. And all she really had to say was that Gannon wasn't feeling well and that he was asleep in Lena's bed and for her to just stay outside and play. Now again, all of this is taking place in this 3 to 4 o'clock time period where Gannon is supposed to have left. She's supposedly raped. None of this is making any sense. Now, later in the evening, Harley comes home. Probably, I want to say it was almost like 5 o'clock at that point, because I do remember it was like a half hour or so after Lena was playing or something like that. That Harley comes home, and immediately Letecia just sends her out to the dollar store to just go and get her some things, and that she'll text her what she needs. But again, sends her out of the house. Mm-hmm. Now, she sends Harley a text message asking for some weird things. She asked for carpet powder, like the cleaning powder. She wanted 2 of those. She also wanted baking soda and trash bags. Now, if you don't know, you can use baking soda and vinegar to clean up blood. And as we have mentioned, there was a lot of blood in Gannon's room, but not just in Gannon's room. Nope. And obviously the detectives didn't know that she tried to use vinegar or anything like that until they were actually with the luminol light and trying to run everything and test everything, to which they found that she had used the baking soda and vinegar. So it didn't come out, didn't really work. And all she really had to just say was that she just wanted to clean the place where she was sexually assaulted. It wasn't because Gannon was murdered. She just wanted to clean up where she was sexually assaulted.
Mm-hmm. And when the police did the luminol test, they found blood in the garage where her VW would have been parked. And they also found blood in the Kia Rio that she had rented, which all matched to Gannon.
Oh, they found some blood in the hallway of the home too.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I forgot to mention was, I'm not sure if she had like thermal motion detectors in their home, mm-hmm. or if like a neighbor had it and this is how they got this information. I got a little confused in that part, I won't lie. But I know that there was motion detectors, and it showed that there was nobody in the home from the time that Gannon and Letecia left to when Letecia and Gannon supposedly arrived back home. Now, what it is said is that Letecia got home around 2:15 or like 2:19, 2:15-ish, and she didn't go check the phone that she had left at home. Now, we all live in a world where we're pretty much obsessed and glued to our phones. So if you had left your phone at home, the first thing you're going to go do is check it because you want to see what messages you missed. You want to go check your social medias. Like,
yeah, of course.
The first thing you're going to go do is track down your phone. It's proven she did not unlock her phone to do anything on it until about 2:45 p.m. So a solid half hour after you've been home. And it said that she was setting off the motion detectors so badly within a short amount of time frame because she was running from the upstairs to the garage.
Oh, the basement? The basement.
Oh, was it the basement? Okay. But it was just running back and forth. And it's just like, what were you doing? So
she was being sexually assaulted. We're not trying to laugh at people that have been sexually assaulted, but
I was about to say that was not at anybody that has ever been sexually assaulted. If you have, I'm sorry. It wasn't trying to be disrespectful,
No.
but the fact is we all know she was lying.
Yeah. Allegedly. In our opinion. We don't think that actually happened. There's no evidence to prove that it happened. So we're going with that. We're going with the evidence and what it points at. We get into police finding Gannon's body. And in order to do this, they put a tracking device on a Nissan Altima that she had rented. And the reason why she had rented it is because her vehicle was seized by the police. And they put this tracking device on there to see where she was going. And she kept driving around this highway 105 Perry Park Road. And I'm going to insert a picture of the map of everywhere she was driving and the times because it's insane. She was driving all over the place. And they ended up finding like a little box and it had Gannon's sock in it. It matched his DNA. Obviously, they found the sock and they did all the testing on it and it matched his DNA. Then, shortly after, they started to realize that she was probably moving the body around to keep the police off her track. She ended up leaving Colorado and going to Florida for a bit. Nobody really knows why, but sadly enough, they ended up finding Gannon's body stuffed in a suitcase in Pace, Florida, thrown off a highway. And when they did the autopsy, they found that he had been hit with a blunt object, which is probably what ended up doing his killing. But he was also stabbed and shot. And I remember hearing this for the first time and just thinking about a young child being shot. I mean, just killed in general, but being shot is insane and so upsetting. And to know that he moved his body around and then decided to take it off to Florida and dispose of him like he was nothing is so upsetting. And that's the saddest part of this case, obviously. But the thing is leading up to his death, there were a lot of Google searches that she did that seemed to be a motive. She started looking up military singles and my husband uses me to babysit and I'm tired of taking care of my stepkids for their mom who doesn't want anything to do with them.
I'm just a glorified babysitter.
Yeah, and she obviously had so much hate towards Gannon for being a stepchild. And when you get into a relationship with somebody who has a kid, you're supposed to love that kid like they're your own. And it's so heartbreaking to know that she had so much animosity towards this kid for no reason. And it just sucks that he had to lose his life over somebody who was jealous and upset about having to take care of a step kid. No matter what, that's still a child.
And it just sucks more. Like, he had a sibling. Like, there was 2 stepkids. And she just took it out on him.
Yeah, and I don't know why, you know? Like, why would you do that? But I'm gonna insert a picture of all her searches, too, because they're ridiculous. And it just shows you the type of mindset that she was in. And she ended up getting a hearing on April 14th this year. Something else I forgot to mention is she decided to do a fake polygraph test.
She full-blown Googled it, and it is fakepolygraphtest.com.
That's literally...
Like,
and...
way to keep it secretive.
Yeah, and she... In the fake polygraph, she starts... because you write your own questions, obviously. And they were like, did you participate in harming your stepson? She's like, no. Did your stepson return home with you? She says, yes. Did you participate in any way in causing the death of your stepson? She says, no. And she submitted those, and basically the fake polygraph came back to her and said, sorry, but we can't do this because it pertains to you doing a crime. And her obviously being the person that she is, responded with, what do you do now? Just delete it and go on about your life and keep the money? And fake polygraph says, yes, we do indeed. Thank God for them. And Letecia said, okay, gotcha. Thank you, bye. Like, she was so adamant about getting away with this violent, disturbing crime of a young child.
And like we said, we really don't know when Gannon met this awful fate. It's really said that it happened in the afternoon hours, but a lot of people are speculating that this all happened pretty much while she was out running her errands. Now, another thing that we didn't mention was in one of the security videos, it almost looks like there's something bouncing out of the truck, like out of the bed. So a lot of people have assumed that that was the suitcase she was putting him in. The other reason that people think that he was already gone to was mainly just because of that, like how she was being when the kids were getting home and making sure that they weren't in the home. And a lot of people are feeling in speculation that it was because she was trying to clean up her mess, because the kids all came home around the same time that Gannon was supposed to have left the house, when supposedly somebody came in and attacked and raped and stole him. How the hell did your children come home? All of this supposedly happened, but no one knows anything. Like, just tell the damn truth and give this family some peace.
So the hearing happened this April 14th, and she has another one coming up, what, May?
I think there's May 20th. I don't know 20th. What. It's like
I don't
a
know.
hearing for...
She's trying to say that she's not
getting
mentally stable to...
And she's had 2 psych tests, and they both have proven that she is well enough to go on to trial. I forgot that she's also... Some people are trying to say that Ted Bundy must be like her kind of go-to man, or like she must kind of be obsessed with him, because she's starting to almost show like Ted Bundy tendencies.
Like she's trying to work for herself.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's trying to represent herself. Like, I mean, at least Bundy went to law school.
Yeah, like at least he had a reason to do so.
You know, so now she's trying to legally represent herself. She's written many letters to the judges to say that she's mentally unstable, that they're just taking advantage of her. She has no privacy, how her lawyers are just in cahoots with the prosecutors, and that like she doesn't trust anybody. And I'm sorry, honey, but you committed a crime. You're now in prison, so there's no such
awful
thing.
Crime.
There's no such thing as privacy anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like, she's if she was even the slightest bit innocent in this, she has done nothing to prove that.
Nope.
She has literally done anything and everything that she could to incriminate herself in this process.
And so we are probably going to do the next video touching on her hearing and what went down with that whole situation. We didn't do much research on that part because we were trying to focus more on the actual case. But when we come back, we will most likely talk about everything that went down there.
Yeah, this is all just like actively happening now, guys. So there's still a lot more that is coming to life. There's a lot more that I feel will probably come to light in the trial too.
Mm-hmm.
And
Hopefully.
I really want to know if there's any security footage of her at any point in the PetSmart with a phone in her hand.
Yeah, me too.
Because she left her phone at home. So if there is ever a phone in her hand in any security video, 1000% Gannon's.
Yep. And they haven't released any of the PetSmart security tapes.
They barely released that affidavit like not that long ago. And from what I understand, she has to go over like 3,000 pages of like the evidence that they found, the ideas that their theories are circling. Like, I really don't know what the hell she's thinking trying to represent herself.
Me either. But I guess we'll find out.
I mean, I guess hopefully it'll go quicker and we'll get a guilty, like, verdict by the second day.
Oh my god, if she doesn't get guilty, I will literally, like, I'm leaving Earth.
Are you gonna look at Elon Musk? Put me on that spaceship.
Yeah, like, I am out. But time to end this video on a more positive note. Even though
I don't think we can on this one, but
yeah, no, it's a lot. I cried like 3 times. But we'll talk about the wines that we tried and let you know what we think. The wine that I tried is a Malbec? And I have no idea how to say that.
What is it?
Los Haraldos.
Los Araldos?
Estate? I don't know.
It sounds like my dad's middle name, and I always mess it up.
Argentinian? Argentinian, yes. So we're stepping out completely out of California, the United States. Thankfully, because, you know, we don't do anything else. But this wine is really, really good. I like it. I actually got it from an Argentinian restaurant today. But it contains sulfates, in case you were curious. It's a bit more on the bold side than the light side. It's in the middle of tannic and smooth. It's a little bit more on the dry side, which I get. It's in between soft and acidic. It has taste notes of chocolate, vanilla, oak, blackberry, plum, and black fruits. Sorry, my cat.
Did you spill ice?
My cat knocked over our lights. Anyway, my cat just knocked over our light, so sorry, it looks extra bright now. But it pairs well with beef, lamb, and poultry, and I think it's pretty good. I've never had a Malbec, but I like it.
So the wine that I tried tonight is called a Brosatello. I don't even know. But it's from Italy. Super stoked. And it was a Moscato. So white wine. It was actually really good. I would probably say it's definitely kind of more in the middle of being bold and light. Maybe a little bit more bolder. I definitely felt like it's more smooth than tannic on anything. It's definitely super sweet. Be careful. And I would probably say that it is on the softer side than acidic because I really didn't taste anything too acidic-y. Now, it does say that it has some refreshing notes of orange, blossom, fresh peaches, citruses, some mint. Now, we couldn't really find anything of what it paired well with. But I mean, it is your white wine, so you know, appetizers, pasta, dessert probably would be perfect with.
It says a sweet brunch dish.
Ooh, like some waffles and strawberries?
Eggs and sweet. I don't know.
I'm like thinking of like a Belgian waffle.
I know, like eggs.
This one, it does contain sulfates as well, so if that is an allergy, stay away. Thank you everybody for watching, and we can't wait to see you next Wednesday. Bye!